Yo, so this morning I got a text message from one of my students. And it's the type of text message that just, sets your heart all aflutter and makes you feel awesome because it is a success story of something that we talked about yesterday in our one-on-one coaching session. And then he immediately implemented it, which is something that I look for in students is people who not just are coachable, who are going to take the information, they're actually going to implement it. Like that's super important. And they're going to do it fast. Like I move fast. I like to iterate really quickly. So working with students, that's one of the things that I look for. I take only 3 students at a time, and I'm very selective because I only got so much time and I don't want to be a full-time coach. Anyways, I love it when when we take a plan, when we implement it and we immediately see results. And that's the text message that I got from this fine young gentleman. He texts me, he says, 8 leads and 2 verbal commitments already from the Facebook post. That's $2,500 a pop. I freaking appreciate you. He said, lesson learned, sell, then build, and probably iterate. Okay, so let's break down. He did 2 things in particular that opened the floodgates for him, and I want to share what those 2 things are, but I want to share a little bit of the backstory here. So this guy, his name's, maybe I won't say his name. Anyways, he's a young guy. He's a killer in the real estate game. He started off with single family. He acquired, I think, I want to say hundreds, but at least dozens of single family residences that he did with creative financing, going direct to seller, getting these things seller finance. So he's coming very little out of pocket. He would go in there, refurbish them, rehab, then sell them. And then he started making the transition to multifamily and started scaling his operations. And now he wants to start giving back. He wants to start coaching. He wants to start teaching people about the systems, the processes that he's been using for a number of years so that they can go out there and do the same thing. So we're talking about how we can add this new revenue stream to his current existing business model. And we're going back and forth talking about landing pages, talking about programs and all this stuff. And what ends up happening a lot of times is that we overthink things. We feel like we need to have things to a certain place before we can start launching and talking about it publicly. And one of the things that I'm a real big fan of is to try to sell a product before you've actually made the product, because nothing is going to confirm whether there's actually market demand for the thing more than actually going out there and getting people to pay for it. Now, if you can't get somebody to pay for the thing before you made it, you're probably not going to be able to get them to pay for it after you've made it, because they don't know if it's made or not, right? Like you can tell them it's not made yet, but generally they're not going to know. And so you can go to market, you can try to get your first customer based off the strength of the idea that you have for the product. And I think this is a much better way to move forward to verify if this idea is actually viable or not before you put all the time and the energy into this coaching program or into this digital product, this course, this whatever it is. Like we did physical products at Escape Climbing, and we made this mistake where we'd make the product and then try to sell it. And maybe there was demand, maybe there wasn't, but a better way would have been to take the idea, try to sell it, get pre-orders, get people on the wait list, tell them it's coming soon, and then confirm whether or not it's something that we should run at. So what we did with this fine young gentleman is we put a hold on the landing page and everything else. And I just said, just make a Facebook post. And we talked about exactly what to talk about in that post, like how to structure it, just to see if you can get anybody to raise their hand and say, yes, that's a product I am interested in. I would like to pay for that now. Because if you can do that, you can get somebody to raise their hand and say, that's interesting. Now you can sell it to them and say, it's coming soon, it's coming next week, it's launching here, or whatever, right? And what this does is once you have confirmation that there is a market for the thing, you then go back to the shed and you start building it. And what I find is that when you actually know that there's customers waiting for the thing, you build the thing much better and you build it much quicker and it takes less time. And overall, it's the way to build, I think, a thriving business is to make sure that there is, in fact, a demand for the product before you do it, before you launch the thing. I did this same model about a year ago when I launched the capital raising machine, and this is a very niche product. It's for people who want to raise capital for real estate. So people who are looking to finance, bring in private equity partners into their deals. It's not something I talk about broadly because not a lot of people are into that world. It's a very unique skill set and business model. And so I wasn't sure if there was going to be a lot of demand for it. So before I even put the time and the energy into making it, I created the pitch. I created the offer. I went out there and I was like, hey, I'm putting this thing together. Who wants it? I'm putting together a waitlist. It's launching in 2 weeks. The first 10 people to sign up get it at a discounted price. Those 10 people sign up. I'm like, cool. Next 10 people get it at this price, right? And keep doing that until you figure out what the actual market price of the thing is. And then because you've given yourself like next week or the week after for the launch, now you have a couple of weeks to actually build the thing. So by the time I launched that product, capital raising machine, on the first day it went live, it had made $25,000. And that was all before I'd even made the thing. I just confirmed, is there actually demand for this? And so we did that with a student. He took the idea, he ran with it, and it's awesome. I'm really psyched to say. I think he's going to absolutely crush. Now he can run towards the product with confidence, knowing it's actually going to sell. Now, the two concepts that really unleashed the floodgates for him was this. We identified the bottleneck, and then we removed it. And a lot of times it's really just that simple. Like, I'm a big fan of the theory constraints, which says that a system will not grow beyond its weakest point or its biggest constraint, its bottleneck, whatever that is. And a lot of times in business, we think our bottleneck is one place, when in reality, when we really step back, we analyze the system from 50,000 feet above, we look down and we say, oh, actually, this is what's holding us back. And once you identify very clearly what that thing is that's holding you back, what's the constraint, all of your energy should go towards removing that. In the case of my student, the constraint wasn't that he didn't have a landing page. It wasn't that he had created the videos yet. It was simply that he hadn't made the offer. He didn't have an offer to make, and he hadn't made it. So the first thing that we did was we got clear. What is the offer going to be? What is this program that you would like to put together, and then go sell it? That was the constraint. Now that he has people who've raised their hand that showed interest in it, now the constraint in getting that money and keeping the money is to go build the thing. So the first constraint was, let's get the offer. Second constraint was, have a way for people to become aware of the offer and then voice their interest in it to you. Now the third bottleneck here is to actually have the product, and then a way to take payment, and then a way to fulfill the product, right? Like those are the next steps. But if you just focus on what is the next constraint, the next bottleneck, and then focus all your energy on removing that one thing, and you just keep repeating that cycle over and over and over, it is the unlock to instant massive growth. It's worked in every single one of my businesses. It's yet to fail, and I think it will work for you and yours. So with all that said, really, really psyched. Just wanted to share that win. Coming up on the end of this quarter, just so you guys know, I take 3 one-on-one students at a time because, again, I don't want to be a full-time coach, but I love working with creators and operators, people who are doing at least $5,000 a month in their business. And ideally, it could be anywhere between 5 and 100,000. It doesn't matter. But if you're somewhere between, 5 figures and 7 figures, and you want to make that jump, reach out. Let me know. Shoot me a email, anthony@anthonyvicino.com, and say, hey, I'd love to learn more about the coaching or the consulting. Here, tell me more about your business and what you're trying to do. My goal is to be able to help any student that comes in double or triple their revenue within 6 months. So if I think I can do that with you, then we will run hard towards it, and it'll be awesome. But yeah, so shoot me a message. Let me know. Or find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter, shoot me a DM. You guys know I respond to all my messages, or I try to. So hope this brings you guys a little bit of value as you grow and expand your empire. I'll catch you back around these parts tomorrow. But until then, stay hyper-focused, my friends.